And we are live.
Awesome. Now I'm waiting for that live notification so I can be a smart person and jump on chat, which I forgot to pop out.
You mean you aren't already over there?
You can tell it's a very disorganized night over here.
I got one bearing listening on my TiVo and I can't figure out which one it is. I've tried oiling it and it's like, yeah. So I've got my audio level kind of cut down, got the microphone over here. I'm over here like in my little corner of the desk trying to stay out of the shot of the time lapse.
Tonight on this ASMR episode of the Calvin and Jimmy Show, Jimmy's now going to have to talk into his microphone like this because his TiVo tarantula is making too much noise.
Don't have it that close. I can get right up here, Let's get right up against it like that. Is that better?
Because we can't just be normal people on live stream. We got to be all like, and then this is what we are doing tonight. We're going to sound like radio announcers.
By the way, you just jacked up your audio again. You got to unplug it and plug it back in like you did last week.
Oh, gosh. Oh, good. I'm back on. I will learn eventually not to do that, but until then, I don't care. I'm in honey badger mode, so should be fine.
Let's see. We've got TK in the house. We've got the Handy Outdoor Nerd. How you doing? We've got King Random, and we've got a Pyro Design. Hey, Travis, how you doing?
What's up, everybody? Before I forget, Handy Outdoor Nerd, I still have not gotten my replacement resin in from Matter Hackers, so sorry I haven't been able to print your print yet, which is totally cool. I will get there eventually when my resin comes in. I really hope it's soon because I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed. But I also understand it's Chinese New Year over in China still probably, so that might have jacked things up a little bit with the big old shipment, but whatever. Rain's over.
I guarantee it did. Let's see, we got Aunt Nancy in the house. Thank you for joining, Aunt Nancy.
And don't worry, I'm not bashing on anybody. I'm just making a statement. I should have kept the black resin when they accidentally sent it to me, but I wasn't thinking.
So you want to go ahead and dive into it?
I say we dive right into it. And before we go any further, on my end, I'm really sorry if the audio is not the best because I got the old Ultimaker here cranking out a test print for you guys. So I really don't know if it'll be done in time for the stream, but it ties into the whole Simplify3D versus Cura thing, which we're going to talk about more in a minute.
Okay, so do you have your chat set up?
I got my chat set up.
Okay.
I'm reading chat. I'm just not directly responding with my ninja hands yet.
Okay. So here's the thing. We're not bashing on Simplify3D at all. I want to make that very clear out of the gate. I still think Simplify3D is probably and perhaps always will be the top program, especially for beginners in 3D printing because of the simplicity that it brings to 3D printing. The question that I'm starting to have is, has Cura as a program come to the point where it is on par or slightly passing Simplify3D as far as the settings that you can do and the printability of the program? Now, granted, there are still aspects of Simplify3D, from what I understand, that are still, beyond what Cura is capable of doing. But as far as a simple slicer, has Cura caught up? Because one thing I've noticed with the newest Cura is it has an ungodly amount of settings. And I'm talking everything from fuzzy mode where you can make everything shake around and give it a fuzzy texture to, I saw where another person was mentioning the ironing function, where it can actually go back over the print and smooth out the top of it where it's like glass. And the thing is, Cura costs nothing compared to Simplify3D that costs you $150.
Well, I mean, let me just show everybody the difference between Cura and Simplify3D. So can you guys see my screen? Because I think I finally figured out screen share.
Ooh, you did a good job on that screen share.
Oh, is it working?
It's working.
Yes! So I'm literally, this is Cura 3.2.0. They just came out with a new one, but I'm literally going to scroll you guys through here. All the different settings. I know I'm going kind of fast, but seriously, I mean,
take your time. I went ahead and locked the screen on your screen.
Okay, well, let me just, stick on one section really fast. Let's see, under quality, there's layer height, initial layer height, line width, wall line width, outer line wall width, inner walls line width, top bottom line width, inner infill line width, skirt brim line width, support line, support interface, support roof, support floor, prime tower, initial layer line width. That's just under effectively layer line width, aka how big or small everything is. You can set, which extruder is doing which wall on a print. Top bottom patterns. I mean, I kid you not. The stuff that is in here, or ironing, I have not tried that yet. Infill, patterns. Click on that one. Why not?
By the way, one of my favorite infill patterns is the zigzag, because it saves you a lot of print material, because it'll print one direction and then on the next pass it'll print the opposite direction, and it doesn't do it where normally on grid or lines it'll do one way and they'll do the other way to create a crosshatch pattern. It does it one layer one way, one layer the next way, one layer the other way, and back and forth.
That is something that Simplify3D does actually by default, which is nice.
That's cool. Go ahead.
Here's the cool part: is you can now set temperatures in Cura. It looks like your build plate temperatures for a first layer, your initial printing temperature. Say you got like near the top of a print, you need to cool it down. I mean, the settings that it's got now are just ridiculous. So let me jump over to Simplify3D to show you guys what it has under the UI. Now, the thing that I like about Simplify is it locks everything into its own little tab. So under extruder, I can set my nozzle diameter, my extrusion width, my retraction settings, my layer heights, anything related to that. Additional stuff like brims, prime towers, ooze shields, rafts. Infills its own separate area. I can even set custom angles.
Do you have where you can bring up Simplify3D?
Yeah, I should have it on the screen right now. I'm using
still Cura.
Still Cura? Let me stop sharing and jump back into screen share again. Screen share, why you no like me? Screen share, application window, Simplify3D. There we go. Sorry about that. You see it now? Awesome. Okay, so like I was saying, you've got everything broken out into a tab. So here's the extruder tab. Here's the layers tab. Here's the additions tab, which is things like skirts, brims, prime pillars, ooze shields, rafts. Infill. The cool part is you can do all kinds of different infills, set your own custom angles. Support, my favorite one. I actually run with support. I actually set mine to a 45-degree angle because I find that actually gives me better contact area over a part and makes it easier to remove than doing, say, like a 90 or a 0, especially on a part that's square or rectangular that has areas that need support. Normally, you'd run into issues where it wouldn't support going a certain way. So here's a good example of that. Temperatures, I can set, you can see I cranked my first layer up, which is a little bit high, but I was running some different filament under this setting. I can do that. Cooling, I can run it from a slow speed and ramp it up, which is useful. G-code, all that related stuff. The starting and stop scripts for my printer. That comes in really handy with the Thing-O-Matic. Actually, I'll dig that one up. So that way, it'll show you all the different codes, what it's doing, things like that. The speed section, how fast you're running. Do you want to adjust the speed for slower layers? bridging.
Like DK is saying you're locked on the original screen. We're not seeing any of the things you're talking about.
Gosh darn it! Screen
All
share
we
hates.
see is your little octopus on the print plate.
Okay, I'm gonna try again here because this is screen share does not like me.
Fail.
Shut up, Jimmy. Okay, can you guys see it, or is it not coming up again?
Okay, so all I'm seeing. Try it again.
Hang on. Is that working?
Yeah, that's your the one that you've been showing.
Okay. Well, because the screen share is being a pain, just trust me when I say there's a bunch of settings. So I'm gonna stop doing screen share for now. But
World?
oh wow, now I'm back. I'm not an octopus anymore. Oh, and then the other thing, this is the number one reason why about 3 years ago why I bought Simplify3D is custom supports.
Yeah.
Able to put, I mean, that to me, especially back when I was doing 3D hubs orders like crazy, and there were times where Cura would want to stick some support in some funky old spot, and you're like, I don't want support in there because it's never going to come out. And Cura's all like, I'm going to put the support in there anyways. And I'm like, I didn't want the support there. Or you intentionally want to put support on things that are somewhat spindly. You know, that to me is the thing that if you're doing any kind of production printing, make Simplify3D worth the money.
Yeah.
Now that said, if you're just doing it as a hobby, that's up to you. I mean, like I was telling Jimmy before the stream, he asked me, would you recommend buying Simplify3D to somebody who's new in the hobby? And I said no. Only reason why is because the price of Simplify3D now versus the price of a machine, you can buy a cheap printer for about the price of Simplify3D and maybe a spool or two of filament. Back in the day when machines cost more in the price range of like my Ultimaker and stuff, buying Simplify3D was a drop in the bucket, relatively speaking. So that's something to keep in mind. But that said, the other main reason why, you know, I don't exactly recommend it right out of the box is mostly just because you don't know if you're even going to enjoy printing. And usually when you start out, you just start with the stock profiles for your machine and work from there. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and buy it. I personally like it. I personally would tell people straight to their face, yeah, I like it. I say go out and buy it. But I'm not you. You're not them. You know, you kind of get what I mean.
I'm going to show you my Cura. Is it coming up?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my mouse moving?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So my Cura, this is the one, just the profile for the Tivo Tarantula that I currently have set up. So, you know, I've got my layer height and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of people are talking about the supports being the issue. And what I do on mine is I go through and I adjust the support numbers. I actually went in to this one. You can click on this little gear. This is the options it gives you under support. Is it the screen up where it shows support and all that?
No, I think it's because it's a separate screen. You need to go to the Hangouts page and
block it out. Anyway, whenever I click on this gear right here, it pops up just a tremendous amount of settings. And let me see if I can choose that screen. Let's see. Nope. In fact, it's opening up another program. No, get out of that.
I guess I'm not the only one that screen share hates.
Anyway, it brings up where you can actually add in all of your other settings. And like I have support density set up. I have support Z distance. And this is the one that they have it set by default at 0.1. And pretty much the rule of thumb is you want to double whatever your layer height. If you're pointing at 0.15, you want to make it a 3. If you're printing at a 0.1, make it a 2 or even a 3. It doesn't matter. but pretty much you want to give it that gap. But one of the coolest settings is this is enable support roof. It generates a dense slab of material between the top and the support and the model. That way it creates that buffer where it's smooth and the support doesn't stick to it as bad.
That's something that Simplify has, and they call it dense support. But, you know, to each their own ultimately. I mean, my take on it is, at the end of the day, this is something that holds totally true also from the machining industry as well, is different people are going to find different softwares that are more intuitive. And also certain softwares are going to excel in certain things that other softwares literally bomb in. I mean, don't get me wrong, as nice as Fusion 360 is, there are some features in there that I wish it had, like the ability to select only a certain part of a contour. Still haven't figured out how to do that yet. There's probably a way, but haven't figured that out yet. You know, there's so many different programs out there that ultimately, you know, to each their own, and so many of them are free that all it requires you to do is just download it, try it out, and go, yeah, I love this, or no, I hate this, and, you know, go from there, really. Although I will say the variable layer height in Cura, I love it. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal. That, to me, is a game changer. And I definitely have to mess with it more for doing, you know, large prints like, oh, I don't have it with me, but like that traveling guinea pig model, I'm tempted to throw that into for my upcoming video that I'm going to be doing where I'm talking about the differences between them. I'm not going to reprint it again, but I'm tempted to stick it into Cura and say, okay, what's the runtime, material usage, all that estimate that you give, and then what's the one that Simplify3D does using, you know, the same profiles. I'm not so much worried about the time to run it because that's different, but, you know, go from there.
One thing I do want to do is Dave from Matter Hackers reached out to both of us last night on Twitter and was talking about matter control, and he wants us to give that a shot. I definitely want to download matter control, give it a shot, as well as Craftware. I haven't used it in probably a year. I'd like to download that one again and just see what improvements they've made.
Definitely. And I want to do the same thing because obviously I'm someone who's looking for the most efficient workflow that I can put a model in there, slice it, boom, out you go. But also I want to keep in mind price point because like I said earlier, the price of Simplify3D now is the price of a machine plus a spool or two of filament. Or if you're getting a real bargain basement Kickstarter machine, oh my gosh, Simplify3D could be a whole nother machine for you. So it's kind of like, you know, seeing, you know, and the other thing I will say is a little bit frustrating with Simplify is nobody really knows if they're even kind of around anymore. It's like they have their website running, but they don't really push updates very often. I mean, I get it, they're not a crowd-sourced software, but it is a little bit concerning just because of the fact that Simplify3D does. The one thing I forgot to mention that is a bummer with Simplify is it requires a license key and it requires an internet connection to function. So that is my only gripple with Simplify, is there's no real offline mode to the best of my knowledge. Yes, Greg, I know.
Been off with his hair. Greg is so cool. He comes on there. Oh my God, still the hair, Calvin. How you doing, Greg? Thank you for joining.
As always, Greg coming in and crashing the party. Yeah, so that I will say is probably my only gripe with Simplify is the fact that let's say you're in the field and you don't have an internet connection, unless you've had it opened before you put your computer into sleep mode, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So that I do have to say is kind of frustrating because I wish there was a way that, you know, you've got a one-time code that you put in and that one-time code for that machine stays with it. Then if you deactivate it and you put it on another machine, then you got to put in another one-time code. But at least you know that it's licensed to that specific machine, you know, that to me is my only concern, because God forbid, you know, Simplify3D ever went down as a company. Does that mean that everybody's software is bricked? You know, that's my only fear. A little bit like with the New Matter 3D printers, a lot of people are concerned because that used a cloud-based system. When the company goes down, does that mean everybody's machine is bricked? So there's, you know, there's a drawback that is kind of a concerning one. So, you know, sadly, not everything is perfect.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Greg is heading out to bed. He's feeling under the weather. Thank you for joining. I hope you get better soon, my friend.
either that.
This stuff is horrible. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, my math teacher's been sick with the flu for like the last 2 weeks. Still isn't over, and I'm just like, this isn't good.
I know it's pretty bad. It's well, you know, I got over the flu. What was it, 3-4 weeks ago? And then I was starting to get better. And then was it last Tuesday? Whenever we were going to do our live stream, just that night, that is probably about 5 o'clock that night, it just hit like a ton of bricks. And that was like a 24-hour bug. But math stuff is just nasty. Are you drinking a beer? What are you drinking, man?
This is a family-friendly show, Jimmy. I'm
okay.
finest.
I saw that long neck bottle. I'm like, what in the world are you drinking?
Mexican Coke.
The head of Daniel Norrie.
Cheers. No, I picked this up for Wednesday night's video. I was building a bottle opener. This guy right here, which I'll explain later on in the stream. I was working on that, but I didn't have any pop-top bottles at the house. I'm like, well, on my way back from class, I might as well just go to Safeway and get a few things. So I'm like, oh, they sell pop-top drinks over there. Done.
Oh, King Random's saying, where's my drink ring? That's right. Hang on. Let me grab it.
Totally forgot to put mine on. Would it fit on a glass top bottle on? Jimmy's now crawling underneath his desk to find where he dropped his.
I keep them right there underneath the desk.
Like $10,000 underneath it. No, I'm just kidding.
I would have put the high five one on there. See right there? You got the high five.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I was on the fence about getting Simplify3D for a long time. And then I would say it was probably about 6 or 8 months ago, Cura really started popping out some updates to the point where I'm like, why do I need it? And as time has went on, I'm kind of to the point now where I'm kind of glad I didn't spend the money, because, you know, for a free software, I'm getting everything I need.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've definitely earned back my $150 in time saved, frustration saved, support removal, sanding time saved. But yeah, at this point, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of like back in the day, Simplify3D was like the mind-blowing software of its time. And now I hate to say it, but it kind of just seems like Simplify3D has just kind of been the can kicked down the road. You know, it's still got some usefulness, but it's kind of been neglected as well. And I'd love to see
alive. I haven't seen him in our stream forever. Thank you for joining.
Awesome. Thanks for interrupting me too, Jimmy. No, but I mean, in all honesty, I do kind of feel like Simplify has been kind of neglected, and it's a little bit frustrating because, you know, Prusa came out with the Slick 3R slicer, however you pronounce it, thing. You know, he came out with the variable layer height and that. Everybody was going gaga over that. Then Cura came out with it, and everybody's going gaga over that. And then Simplify3D is all like, is there even an update? I don't see an update. Well, great. You know, so when I say it's a little bit concerning and a little bit disappointing, if they are still working on it, maybe they're coming out with some awesome update. I really hope that they do. But I'm kind of surprised that they weren't the first ones to come out with the variable layer height, because I think some people had kind of made an experimental version on their own, but it was kind of buggy, you know, but it wasn't like it had been really fine-tuned to the point that you could put a model in there and go, wow, that really makes a difference. You know, the one thing I will say that I heard, I think it was from JT, or I think it was JT on my last design stream that I did, he had said that he was having some issues with the tree supports, and I agreed with him that it's a cool idea doing those SLA DLP style little fringy supports, but reality is on an FDM machine, we have enough problems with retractions on little stuff, let alone trying to do it for support. Forget it. You know, it's a cool concept, but I don't think it's very practical, at least in my opinion. You know.
JT just popped in. How you doing? Yeah, but I'm honestly, I'm to the point now where I'm kind of glad I didn't spend the money. I mean, things like you said, they have a really big update comes out, and it's just like mind blowing. I might do it because I'm starting to get to the point where the channel's doing a little bit better, to the point where I could probably swing it. But yeah, I just don't know. I've just always been partial to Cura. Whenever I got the first printer, the first thing to do is you got to download Repetier, and you got to go through Slicer and all that, or Slice 3R, or whatever they call that one. And I used it for 2 weeks. And then after that, it got to the point where it's like, I've outgrown this. That's why I started downloading Cura. And I didn't, use the Cura engine in Repetier. I just completely just got rid of Repetier, downloaded Cura, and just started using Cura. And yeah, I mean, it has its own. There's one thing that I wish, and I got to look in this new Cura. I think it might be in there now, to where you can set offsets. Because like on the G-Tech Aluminum i3, there's a 19 millimeter offset from where it parks to where the edge of the bed is. So you always have to move your prints over 19 millimeters for it to be centered. Same way with this Tivo Tarantula. I'm noticing on it that the parts print to the back of the build plate. You got to move them forward about 20 millimeters for it to be centered. So I think there's something to do with offsets that could correct that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff that the new Cura's got. McGinnis was asking, does Cura's variable layer height work well? And I don't know how good the image quality is going to be on here, but I believe Jimmy has a link in the description to where I've got some photos of the little waving octopus that I put on my Twitter. And mind you, the Cura profile has not been tuned perfectly to my machine. It turned out to do only one perimeter, not two. So that's why you can kind of see the infill coming in at the top. But the main point was, I was just curious, on a model like this that's got kind of a gradual change in it, which is partly why I chose it. Especially at the top, do you really, can you like feel the layer height, the ridges feeling consistent? And I would say definitely, so also the automatic nature of it is nice, because you just put the model in there and it does it automatically for you. You don't have to go in there and manually tweak any of the settings. You can actually go in there and tell it what its lowest layer height that it can do, because certain machines might not like going below, say, 0.1 layers or going above 0.25 or whatever, but it will automatically, within that range, do the best that it can to smooth it out. So it's interesting. I mean, I didn't do any ironing or anything like that on it either. So
what have you got printing back there on your printer?
I have got, it's like the support torture test of all evilness. I took little happy octopus here and I flipped him on his head and then printed him with support. So this is the Simplify3D version. Waiting on the Cura one. Printer's about half to 5/8 done, so I'm hoping that it will be done. If we have to stretch the stream a little bit, I think Jimmy would be okay with it. But I do want to show live the difference in the supports between Cura with the Jimmy settings and Simplify3D with the stock settings. because I am genuinely curious to see what the support difference is. I mean, I can tell you right away, 95% of these supports are just going to go and break right off. You know, I actually had to be really careful removing it from the bed. So half the supports didn't stay on the bed, and I'd go, yeah, that was really scientific. To give you guys an idea of how relatively easy stuff comes off. So we'll see.
King Random's asking if that's the TiVo squeaking. Yes, I have a bearing somewhere on it that's squeaking. I haven't figured out which one it is yet, so I can oil it.
It needs to send Jimmy a ceramic bearing pack to really pimp out his TiVo.
Now I just need to find out which bearing it is and give it a little bit of oil.
Jerkham's saying iron mode in Cura only works on flat surfaces, not to be used on slopes, or the model looks like it has a layer of snow on it. Good to know. I, generally speaking, actually don't print a lot of flat stuff, but I will definitely, I will give it a shot, you know, just for the sake of trying it out. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? There are certain times where you do have a flat spot, but I'm curious because I haven't, to be honest, I haven't done a lot of printing lately, especially considering I got the Moai and I've been doing so much machining and just dealing with a lot of personal stuff. It's been eating up in my time, but I'm definitely interested in trying it out though, because I've got some more projects in the future that are going to be printed. And if I can kind of use those as test beds for new functions, I mean, I might as well, you know, doesn't hurt. No, Brandon, you're not late to the party. You're only late to the party if the stream ended. But yeah, I mean, I guess the big thing is, I mean, you haven't ever worked with Simplify3D, have you?
I've never have. One of my viewers one time, he took and he sliced a model for me and sent it over to me to the G code so I could print with it. And it did really good. It was on the Meat Creator too. But I've never got to actually work with Simplify3D.
I was going to say, next time we meet up down at your place, obviously I'll have my laptop with me and I can fire up Simplify. And you can get an idea of what it's like, because I can just dig up a TiVo profile that's pre-made. The other thing I do have to say is the Simplify profiles for the machines work very well, to be perfectly honest. You know, I'm quite impressed with the fact that you can just pull something in there and it works really well, because sometimes the settings, especially like in the cases of the Type A machines, what their profile settings were for Cura were just like, we thought that up. You know, some of them are a little bit like, why are you running your first layer at like 45 millimeters a second? You're never going to get anything to stick at that speed. You know, that's just the gamble you take. But yeah, I'll definitely let you give it a whirl. Just to say that, yes, I have, you know, especially for like your comparison video, you can say, yeah, I've worked with Simplify3D and this is how it behaved. You know, I don't have a license of it, but a friend let me borrow it and use it on his computer, and this is what, you know, so that way you can at least honestly say, yeah, I've used Simplify3D, here's how the models turned out. And I think the big thing though would be to use the stock profile from every single slicer, not make any changes, so that way you can simulate somebody with zero experience coming in here, because that's the attitude we're taking, is somebody with no experience or who's worried about changing the settings, which is understandable, jumping into the software and being able to either crank out amazing prints and going, that leaves some room for improvement, you know, and then use your profile as the control, because you've tweaked and tuned that to be the best that it can, and then go from there. You know, that's kind of the highly scientific approach that I would take regarding it. So that way you have a control that you know works, and then you branch out from there.
Yeah. I see we got Paul in the house. How you doing, Paul? Thank you for joining. Brandon's saying that I'm not missing much, and for not for long with how Cura is evolving. That's kind of the way I feel about it.
I'm still waiting to see user positionable supports inside Cura.
Okay, honest. So I got to ask you on that one you've got printing right now. Did you set it for zigzag?
For support?
Yeah.
No, I used grid.
You do realize that the support you're showing on the other one, that's a zigzag pattern, right?
That's technically lines at a 45. But
Oh, really?
yeah, zigzag. Every time that I've messed with zigzag inside Cura, I can never get it to do support that looked like it would work. So I just decided to go with grid.
I'm trying to find some of the supports I did recently with the zigzag pattern. I had some laying here, and oh yeah, there it is. Hang on. Look familiar? Doesn't that look a lot like Simplify3D?
Yeah.
Look at that. It's like an accordion.
Oh, yeah.
That's the zigzag support setup.
I'm checking out what zigzag would look like in Cura just out of curiosity.
This setting is under support pattern.
Yeah, I've got that.
I just noticed on this one they've got it set for 50% on the TiVo, or on the TiVo. It don't need to be that. I'll just set for 85 for the support overhang. There.
Jimmy's got mega blower set up.
Huh?
Jimmy's got that mega blower set up on his machine.
Oh, that stinking blower. That thing is awesome. I love it. It's got the dual blowers on it, and that thing just blows air.
Well, wasn't it a long time ago when we were on stream that my dad mentioned in chat, well, why couldn't you just use, pretty much like a shop vac hooked up to blow air on a print to like instantly cool it? I think Jimmy's made the closest to that on his TiVo.
I came in. Now, let me grab this thing real quick. I'm going to be all over the stinking time lapse on this thing. I'm going to be walking behind the printer and all that.
Who cares?
Check out this lid. This is the lid for what I'm printing right now. For this, it's like a candy dish or whatever you want to call it. But this was printed with no support. Yeah, there was a little bit of loops that were hung down underneath this edge, which was unfortunate. But that's no big deal. I mean, look at that. No support on the inside at all.
I mean,
no
it's
support on that ledge right there.
I mean, it's a 90-degree angle on a curve, for crying out loud. I mean, that's like the ultimate in torture. But that thing, even the tip, just looks amazing. And normally the tip on something like that would be all mangled and mashed. And
yeah, it looks great. Now, granted, I should have slowed the print down more, but as it was, this was like a 10-hour print right here.
You should seriously try rerunning that in Cura with the variable layer height and see what the runtime is.
Yeah, I didn't think about trying it.
I would.
And that thing, by the way, is 100% infill.
That AMZ 3D filament, that translucent stuff is just beautiful. I love the light up. I forget, did you do kind of like a lit up image of it?
Yeah, what it was, I just kind of put it kind of over the light I have over here for whenever I have it's one of them old stand lights for inside a house, like you put behind a couch or whatever. And it's got 3 lights on it, and I've got LED bulbs in them. And whenever I'm not in here, when I'm just running time lapse, I'll have all the lights on here off except for those 3, and I mainly have them pointed toward the ceiling, just as a fill light, so that I can see the prints during the time lapse. But I just kind of put that right kind of over one of those lights. I'm going to take my cell phone and turn on the.
You should turn the light out.
What's that?
Set. You should turn the light out on set because it's kind of hard to see.
Okay, give me a second.
This is all secretly a ploy to buy extra time for the Ultimaker.
Hey, this isn't too bad, actually.
Yeah, it's
kind of how much light those LED light bulbs give off.
Mood lighting on Jimmy's set.
Look at that.
Oh, look at that. Respect that.
That's 100% infill, and it still has that much light pass through it. Now, when it gets up to this part here, it's so solid it doesn't pass through. But
well, also the neck narrows really, really tight as well, so that doesn't help. But that thing would seriously look amazing with like some diffused LED lights inside.
yeah, it would look cool. Hey, John, thank you for joining.
So what do you guys want to bet that the printer will finish before we're done with the stream?
Is it getting close? What percentage is that?
Let me compare it to one that's already been done.
I have not tried that yet, King Random. I will, though.
I'm going to say it's probably somewhere in about this range to go. So it's got a little bit of time left, but it's getting there.
Yeah, probably won't finish up before the stream ends.
Yeah, we'll see. What will finish first, us or the print?
But Paul's asking how the weather is by us. I'll be honest with you. It is, for us, it's cold. I mean, last night it got down to 31 degrees, and when I went outside, there was just ice all over all the the frost over all the roofs. All the windshields were froze over. We actually, in the mountains behind or by the coastal range, by Carmel and up through there, they actually had snow up in those hills. And I took Beth yesterday up Tassajara Road. We actually got up into where the snow was. Oh, goodness. He's in Wisconsin. Oh, man. That is going to be cold.
Francisco, I looked up the weather, and San Francisco as a whole, they're saying it's probably going to get into the high 30s tonight, which for San Francisco, that's cold considering we're surrounded on 3/4 of our sides by ocean water. So that's obviously going to release a fair bit of heat, but it's been really cold up here lately.
I mean, for it to be in the 30s in San Francisco, that's incredibly cold for there.
I mean, the 50s would be considered a cold day. Sometimes we dip into the 40s, but it has been seriously cold.
King Random says it's going to be 72 there tomorrow. I kid you not. Last week, we had 80-degree weather. This week, I think today's high, I believe, was 50 degrees. And for the most part of the day, it was in the 40s. And that was, man.
And right now, just for giggles and grins, I'm going to look up what the weather's going to be like back where I grew up.
Probably 70 degrees.
Find out. Oh, wow. They're saying it's going to be in the... Wow. They're actually down in the 60s for the high and high 30s as well. That is cold. But it makes more sense down there because we're inland a ways, so we don't get the warmth, if you will, from the ocean.
Yeah. Trying to see what our forecast is calling for.
The Guinness is saying in his hometown in Finland, it's going to be only negative 23 degrees Celsius. Like, to us, that's crazy, but out there, that's considered like, oh, yeah, that's just, a winter day. No big deal.
Man.
My old shop teacher's from Norway, and he has all kinds of fun stories about people up in the north, like literally having to put hot coals underneath their engine to warm the cold temperature oil up enough so that it goes from being a gel to being warm enough that it can actually lubricate the engine and the engine can start. It's not like seized solid. And I'm just like, nope, not visiting up there. No, thank you. I'm good.
Oh, it's supposed to rain here on Thursday.
Oh, snap.
At this rate, it's going to be snowing on Thursday. So on Thursday, it's supposed to be 32 degrees during the night. Tonight, they're expected to get down to 34. So it'll still, where I'm at, we set high enough up. We're about, what is it, about 200 feet above sea level. And so when it's 34 degrees in Salinas, out here it's usually about 32 degrees. They're usually about 2 to 3 degrees cooler than they are in town. I keep forgetting to specify Fahrenheit.
Remember, we're Americans, so we use totally different units, but general rule of thumb is 0 degrees Fahrenheit is freezing. 0 degrees C is freezing, is at 32 in our system, so it's not a perfect conversion, but it gives you an approximation of how dang cold it is.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if they're saying it's 0 or anywhere in that range, you know it's freezing cold. It's like, remember when we went out to Vegas, I was standing outside wearing multiple layers, and I was outside no more than 5 minutes, and literally I was just like shivering uncontrollably.
That was the coldest I have ever seen it in Vegas. Every time I go through Vegas, it's always been 113 degrees.
No, I mean back at your house.
I've never been there when it was that cold.
Well, I'm talking back at your house, and we were loading up the car at like 4 in the morning because, you know, I'm smart and I show up at 3:30.
I remember we were even wearing jackets over in Vegas.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the desert can get cold, but I literally had visions of us like running around in, I think I even packed a pair of shorts just to be safe. You know, me who gets cold easily, like running around in a t-shirt and shorts going, man, this is hot. And then we're all bundled up over at Jeff's house like, oh, it's freezing in Vegas. Cool.
Yeah, that when we left that morning, I forget what temperature it was, but it was down in the 30s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was cold. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So how close is it getting?
Getting there. Getting there.
Well, show us the support removal on your the one you got in front of you.
Okay, so this is the Simplify3D one. For the sake of, I'm just going to do a couple of the side supports, but literally, I'm taking my finger and boom.
I hate you.
Hate me. Hate me. This is why I spent $150 when I was doing a print. It was like about 3/4 supports, and I'm all like, I'm happy I spent $150 for Simplify3D, but I mean, the underside is not perfect, but considering how easy the supports came off, and this is PLA, and I'm probably running it a little bit warm, it worked really good.
Man.
I mean, it's like on the foot of the octopus here on the top of his foot. Yeah, it's not perfect, but that's something that I could easily trim up. And considering that was done completely on support, that's impressive. Or it's like for his hairdo right here, I just...
It's starting to look Cura-esque.
I didn't have the cooling fans running at this point, and the temperature was a little bit high, but Jermaine would still be, you know, hacking off his support with a chisel right now.
Man. Hey, Paul's asking, how do you take Inkspace image to Tinkercad? I'm not sure if you can. Can you?
I don't know. I don't do Tinkercad. I'm not Chuck Hellebuck. So here's the top of his head. Now, mind you, the fans didn't kick on until about where my finger is. Otherwise, they would have blown so hard that it would have cooled the bed too much. But all things considered, that's actually not a bad surface finish for no fans in PLA on supports at a high layer height, all things considered, at least in my opinion. You know. So let me throw these away before I make a mess with them. But that kind of gives you guys an idea of why I bought Simplify3D.
It'd be so funny if you pull the one off your build plate right now and it does the same thing.
I think it'll pull off pretty easily. I'm actually more curious what's the underside quality going to be like, because that gap is so big.
Yeah. So what percentage are you at now on it?
Well, the very inaccurate timer on there is saying 48 minutes, but in reality, it should be faster than that. Maybe 20 minutes tops, but I really don't know, because I'm not sure what layer heights it's printing at. So my time estimation could be way off. I have no clue. But
You mean the Ultimaker doesn't have a screen where it says what percent it's at?
I don't own a webcam. I am now going to move the whole laptop over so Jimmy can see. That's what it's saying, but the timer is not always accurate.
Ah.
It's giving an estimation, but it's usually pretty off. It's almost comical sometimes how far off it'll be, but it could be pretty accurate this time. I really don't know, because I'm doing the variable layer height, so we'll see.
So the variable layer height could be playing with the timer too.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll just film a video and put it up on my Twitter. You know.
Yeah. Because I don't think we're going to stand another 48 minutes.
But like I said, we'll see. I mean, it's getting there. So, who knows? So, King Random was asking which Cura am I running? 3.2.0. I don't have the latest one, but I figured I'm one behind, so I'm close enough. I also give the latest ones at least a week, because usually there's some bug that even though they did beta testing, they still need to fix. So, you know, there's that. Paul's wondering which filament am I using. I'm running some Filamentum PLA that I got off Dustin, aka the Jatman, like I don't know how long ago. I'm actually running low on PLA over here because I spent a lot of money on resin. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually running PLA. I'm just running out what PLA I have over here because I'm kind of like trying to dwindle my supply of filament, because I've got so many just random funky filaments that I bought a long time ago that sadly are kind of going back because they've sat for like 3+ years and are starting to get kind of brittle.
So, what's that?
Some of my fancier filaments are getting kind of brittle. So I'm trying to like run through what I've got, because obviously I didn't realize that a filament sits for like 3 or 4 years. Some of it will actually get so brittle to the point that you just can't print on it. Like it'll go through a spool and hit a hard spot and then you're done. So, you know.
I know I got to start running through some of this filament. I was hoping to get a very large form factor printer, but so far that hasn't come through yet.
He's still knocking on the door of GearBest going, I
want it wasn't GearBest, it was somebody else. Although I do have a GearBest printer I need to assemble. I need to get that one going. Remember the Zone Star with the two?
That'd be a fun joint build if life worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make a Nanas run, because I need some Nanas, because I know there's no way I'm going to be able to get Nanas when I go down south for spring break, which will be really sucky.
One bad thing is Curtis is in back east. He's on the East Coast.
What, with his giant smoker doing like all kinds of magical stuff with it?
No, he's got a work trip.
Okay, JT, have a good one. Let me get caught up on chat here. The Handy Outdoor Nerd was asking, have I ever used HDPE, which is high density polyethylene, on my CNC? No. Mostly because that stuff sucks to cut. it and UHMW, which is ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, I think it is. Yeah, that's UHMW. PE, I believe it is. They are some of the nastiest materials to machine without the right tools because it is super squishy. It's also super stringy, and if you're not running the correct plastic cutting end mills, it'll just melt into everything. And yeah, I could make HDPE parts or UHMW parts if I really felt like it, but I don't because there's lots easier materials to machine like Delrin and ABS. So the Guinness was saying in the Finnish language, there's different snow names for everything. There's like 58 different Finnish language words for snow. Oh my gosh. Nope. Sorry, not learning Finnish. Nope, I'm good. Maybe we'll learn like Norwegian or German or something. Like whatever's the most common language out there, just learn that so I don't sound like a total like moronic tourist. Like, let me pull out my translation book here. Let me hack it up really bad. No. No. Much respect, though, to people in Europe who speak multiple languages. Don't know how you do that, but you guys are awesome. And I'm not just talking like they speak English in their native language. They speak English in their native language and like 3 others, and you're just like, how? How can you do that?
Did you see where King Random said dip the PLA in water?
Yeah, I saw that. The thing is, some of my filaments actually been sitting out in a pretty damp environment, and even then it's gone brittle. So I think it's could just be a quality issue on the materials. And quite honestly, if it's sat for that long and it's gone bad, that's my fault. You know, should have used it up. I didn't know any better, and that's that. So, I mean, because I know PLA over time just will degrade just as a fact of being PLA. So, you know, take it or leave it.
King Random says he speaks 7 languages. 6 of them are computer languages.
Yeah, I speak 7 languages. Maybe computer languages. Oh my gosh, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Technically, I speak, speak 2 languages, English and CNC machine G code, which I'm kind of falling behind on my knowledge of, but I know enough to proof my own program, so yay me.
I just know a little bit of German. We back in 6th grade, we had a lady that came in. Her name was Frau Gustafson, and she was teaching us German. I never did hang on to much of it, except for Guten Morgen, alle Freunde. That's all I remember.
And everybody who understands German watching this is just like, oh boy, there's another Westerner hacking up the pronunciations.
Oh, if you want me to really hack it up, I can say goodnight. Gute Nacht.
The one thing I will say is, especially when you're trying to pronounce something in a language you don't know, definitely putting the pronunciation and the right, way of saying it makes a big difference, sometimes in what the word means. Or, the best part was James May used to be on the show called Man Lab, which was absolutely hilarious and epic and awesome. And there was a scene where he was I think it was somewhere in Italy with one of the set runner persons. It wasn't exactly the smartest person, but they figured, we'll figure it out. One of them had like the good old translation book, and they were trying to find a fountain out there, but they had to he had to ask the question in the native language. So he's like asking how to like go find something, and they're like putting the subtitles in, and he's just like totally butchering it, and the locals can kind of get the idea of where he wants to go, and they're just like trying so hard not to just like bust up laughing at him just like completely like butchering everything. And then James May could only mime out, because they were figuring out a genuine question. If you don't know the language, is it better to attempt to hack your way through it, or use kind of like a universal sign language thing and then have the person go like this or this to like say, yes, this is what I mean, this is what And the results were actually really interesting.
Man.
It was actually a really cool concept because when you really think about it, it's almost like a universal sign language in a way, you know, because I've helped tourists out on the subway who didn't know where they were going and didn't know the language. So they just pointed to something and I'm like, oh, you know, get off here. And like, oh, thank you. You know, they knew like very little English, but they felt more comfortable pointing to it. So they didn't say the wrong thing, get sent to the wrong area. And I'm like, that's actually really smart. So there's no misunderstandings, especially when you're trusting some totally random stranger for directions. And you hope you said the right thing so you don't get sent to the wrong location by accident, you know.
Or you can use Google Translate.
Yeah, but the only problem with that is it doesn't, to the best of my knowledge, do the proper grammar. So
I know it doesn't.
That's the problem, though, because our grammar, because I use Google Translate or the built-in Translate in Twitter all the time because I follow a lot of Japanese model train people, and they do the same thing. And half the time, because their grammar is totally different than our grammar, it's really hard to tell what the heck the translation means because it's kind of like, even though it's taking everything word for word in English, the grammar is so mixed up sometimes you're just like, that's a cool looking model. I can't understand what it means, but it looks cool. You know, so that's the one problem though with using a Google Translate or something like that is it doesn't know the grammar, which can almost be more confusing to the poor person than just doing the old pointed to picture. You know, so I digress. Print faster.
Brandon's asking how many 3D printer manuals have I read? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Paul's asking how the G-Tech 3D printer. All of them are good, except for the D200. That one I need to fix. And actually, the cables just came in this week for it, so I can get that one running hopefully within the next day or two.
Well, do you want me to... Whoops! Dropped an octopus. Well, do you want me to pitch my idea with the bottle opener really quick while we got a couple of people in chat to get their opinions?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so pretty much this is like a little preview of Wednesday's video and then Saturday's video when I go more in depth on it. But my friend Ashley over at Chip Builds, you know, the person did like a zillion projects for. No, she was wondering if I could make a custom keychain to go along with the cool little leather key holder that she's made that looks really awesome. And she was like, oh, can you build me a custom one? I'm like, sure. So this is what I ended up coming up with. And the potential production one's going to be a slight bit smaller than this one. I'm talking like marginally smaller, like not much. But the main point is it's a small, solid brass bottle opener for your keychain or EDC holder or whatever the heck you guys use. But the cool part is it has whatever logo, you know, the person who's, you know, giving me permission to put their logo on the bottle opener or no logo, or I could do custom text as well within certain limits on there. The idea is I was seeing if any of you guys would be interested in potentially, I mean, you don't have to commit to buying it. It's more or less just kind of doing research on, would you guys be interested in something like this if it was in the $10 to $15 range with shipping, USA, extra for international. But the idea is I'm more or less curious to see if there's enough demand for making something like this, either with the logo or without. So not only you can support me, but you're also supporting a creator. And it's something cool that you can carry around that's also useful, you know. So what do you guys say? I'm genuinely curious. And be perfectly honest, if you say that's a great idea, but I don't think it would sell, let me know, because I have the brass and the material. I just want to make sure that before I put all the time into perfecting the programs to make it as efficient as I can, I make them and then nothing happens. You know, I'm trying to avoid something like that, like kind of what happened with my fidget spinner buttons that kind of never went anywhere. Oops.
Kevin says you need to round over that end. Imagine it poking your thigh.
It's actually not very sharp. It has a small radius on it. I mean, I'm dragging my finger across it right now, and I don't have any blood. That end is rounded over. Don't worry.
So Kevin also asked if either one of us were going to Murph. I unfortunately am not going to be able to. Just everything has come up. I'm financially not able to, as well as time wise. Because right now I'm in the process of trying to find a full-time job where I can just have one career and not have, two jobs going on at the same time.
I would love to go, but I'm somewhat in the same position. Without going into too many personal details, let's just say that I'd love to go. Financially, I theoretically could do it, but just time and commitment wise, there's no way I can make it this year. I mean, even making it down sarcastically, I call it down the street to Maker Faire. It's really a little bit farther than that for me. But relatively speaking, compared to most people, even making it down to Maker Faire, which is down the street from me, is even that's a little bit of a stretch commitment wise. But yeah, much as I'd love to go, I sadly can't make it out. Those would be fun. It does seem interesting.
Paul's saying he's thinking about getting a G-Tech 3D printer. Which one were you thinking of getting? I personally, I like the size of the D200. There are some design choices that were made that if you took care of the little issues with them, I think it's a great printer. Although I've never got the Wi-Fi to work on it, I never have got the Wi-Fi to work on the E180 as well. The Meat Creator 2, that thing is bulletproof. That thing has been the best printer I've had. Although I do have to say that since I did the cooling on the TiVo Tarantula, I hate to say it, but it's becoming my favorite printer.
I find it funny that you say that, because in a way I feel a little bit like that with my Thing-O-Matic. I'll be honest, as much as the thing sometimes drives me nuts, as I've always said, I just love it because it's an antique machine and it works. But I'm with you on that whole, it's something different, but it works. And the price was right too.
Yeah, it was. You got for what, $50?
Yeah, no, I'm also talking your TiVo, considering that you pretty much just had to drive out there and you got handed the thing in exchange for building it, and
Yeah, the TiVo, man, I cannot thank the 3D printing professor enough for this. I mean, that thing is, the had its little quirks, but you get through those, it prints great.
I mean, I'll be honest, the TiVo to me kind of just seems like a diamond in the rough. It definitely seems like if somebody really is wanting to get into 3D printing but wants more of like a hackerish platform, I think it's definitely good for that, but I definitely would not recommend it to somebody right out of the box.
King Random, squeak, squeak, squeak. This is my favorite printer.
I still love all the photos with your AFO ball like in the middle of like all those wires, and it's all like...
It's sitting there right now. I've got it right there.
I'm not dissing it. I mean, we eventually do need to film that Flaming Printers video with the C-Dub Fire Killer like 20,000 or something.
Okay, the AFO Fireball. What it is, it's a fire extinguisher. It's got fire retardant in it. If you look closely, you'll see this raised edge. That's a fuse that runs around it. If for any reason it catches a spark or whatever and it starts to burn, the thing will instantly blow apart, blowing fire retardant everywhere. And to me, it's like an insurance policy. Yeah, it'll probably never go off, but if for some reason something did catch on fire, now mind you, I don't just keep it next to my TiVo Tarantula. I do right now because that's what I'm printing with. Any printer I have printing, there's one of those sitting next to it.
Well, I got to one up you on this one, Jimmy. I keep this bad boy offset. It's a, how many pounds is it? It's a big fire extinguisher. We'll leave it at that. That should put out some flaming printers, God forbid. But the only problem is it requires C-Dub to be in the room to set it off, so kind of useless otherwise.
King Random says, not free with your TiVo printer. Not free with every TiVo printer. An AFO fireball.
So just in case anything happens, your insurance company won't hate you as much. Kevin's saying he just got his Black Widow up and running, and besides a few issues with the bed, it's a decent printer. Yeah, Jimmy's main problem, at least this is just based off what he told me and what I picked out from his videos, is the main issue we had was the bed wiring just being so janky. You know, sure, it was lacking a cooling fan, but he was able to get by without that. But the main safety issue was the bed wiring just being not even remotely safe. Other than that, it seems like a decent machine.
Yeah, I've never seen the Black Widow. I would have liked to seen that one.
I think it's a Delta.
No, Black Widow, I believe, is the larger print volume printer.
Oh, okay.
It was like a 300 by 200 millimeter print bed, I believe. It was probably bigger than that, but it was pretty big. At one point, everybody was kind of slighting it as being kind of like a G-Max killer when it was nowhere near the format of a G-Max.
and given what Jeff over at Print3D did with his G-Max and what Joel has done with his G-Max, I don't think you can also match, when I say the quality and the reliability of it, with a lower cost machine. You might be able to, but you know, considering like the multi-day prints that Joel has done, the back-to-back-to-back, you know, prints that Jeff did, I mean, that was crazy.
So it's a 300 by 300 bill volume. So it's the same as the original CR10.
So Paul is asking, what about the Monoprice V2? I've never used any of the Monoprice machines, but based off people's relatively positive opinions on it, I think it's worthwhile. I mean, yes. I had somebody who, I felt so bad for the guy. He got a Tico. Thing didn't work. Now it's pretty much a brick because Tico is no more and can't really use any external software with it. I'm thinking on their part. But he was asking about low-cost machines, and I kind of steered him in the direction of a Monoprice V2. If you get a refurb from Monoprice, I mean, you can get the thing in like the low two, like, correct me if I think there was like one or two that were refurbs in like the high hundreds, low 200s range, which for a small machine that's ready to go, that was really impressive. I was amazed. You know?
And I saw your comment on there a little bit ago, Paul. Honestly, if you're looking at getting the E180, there's aspects of the E180 that I really, really like when it comes to the touch screen and stuff like that. But for the price of it, that you can actually get a Monoprice Select Mini version 2 for less. And that's honestly probably the way I would personally go because of the price point of it. The touchscreen is nice, but we consider that I personally couldn't get the Wi-Fi to work. I don't know if other people have been able to get the Wi-Fi to work. If they have, more power to them. But the model that I received, for some reason, the Wi-Fi never worked, which kind of detracts from part of the selling point on it.
No, and I agree with Jimmy there. I mean, I remember back when you were out for Fleet Week, and I was asking you.
There goes Jimmy's G-Tech giveaway. You know, I love G-Tech as a company. I love the people who work for them, but I think that there were some of their models that they were trying to push out too hard, too fast, and unfortunately, the particular one I got, I feel like was one of them. Sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, does it work as a printer? Darn right it does.
Yeah.
Do all the features work? No, which is, you know, I guess the way I look at it is, if I was spending hundreds of extra dollars just for Wi-Fi and it didn't work, I'd be pretty miffed. But at the same time, it's kind of like, Yes, it's a bummer it doesn't work, but at the same time, does the machine function without it? Yeah, it does. And maybe I just got unlucky and there's some weird computer thing that just doesn't want to work with it. And I guess the one thing I will say is the next time I'm down there, I'll try seeing if I can hook up to it on my laptop just to rule out if it's a computer issue, just to give it a try. I mean, because I'll put it this way: there are certain programs that only like to work on certain computers for some reason, and never know.
Well, they did contact me recently, and they had updated the app, and I need to go ahead and retry it again. Download the new app, do a firmware update on it, and just see if they got the problems solved. I just personally got started in with the TiVo. I still have one more upgrade to do to it, and that's to actually mount the LCD screen on top. Once I have that done, I'll straighten out the wiring the rest of the way. Then I'll feel like this printer is done, and I can set it back over here on the shelf, and kind of get back and revisit some of the aspects of the E180. The main one I want to get back up and running is this one because I absolutely love this printer, but I gotta get that wiring fixed back up on it so it's reliable.
So the Guinness was asking, do people still buy the A8? Yeah, sadly, considering there's lots of shady YouTubers going, this is the best machine ever. Buy it from my affiliate link.
I've never tried an A8, but after all the stuff I've heard about the TiVo Tarantula, I wouldn't mind trying out an A8 just to see.
Yeah, and I'm not ragging on any big channels out there. I'm just saying that let's just say that there's some smaller YouTube channels that you can tell that they're trying to get companies to send them stuff, and their videos, I'm not going to outright say that they're deceptive, but they're definitely something that you need to take with a couple of large bags of salt, maybe, and then maybe a little bit of extra for good measure, and I'm not saying that, there are people who haven't had good or bad experiences with machines, but at the same time, I feel like if 99.9% of the population goes, wow, this thing isn't that great, and 0.001% is going, oh, this thing's the best thing ever, you can kind of go, maybe they got all crappy machines, but the odds of that happening and one person getting a really good one statistically is like, it's not impossible, but it's highly improbable.
Right.
That's what I would say.
It's like they can't clear out their warehouses.
Yeah, or the other thing is they're so desperate to make $1 that they would literally sell you anything as the best thing ever, and you're like, well, I thought last week you had the best thing. Oh no, this one trumps it now, and you're like,
I know.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I sadly did not meet YouTube's monetization requirements because for some reason, don't get me wrong, I'm not, dissing people who are fans of the show here, but sadly, partly because my subscriber count was like about 500 and my view count per video was like 30 on a good day, over the course of like a couple of weeks of being up, I sadly am still like not even close to YouTube's monetization requirements. So sadly, that got pulled. But like I said, they didn't really pay you very much anyway. So when I eventually roll around to getting it, yeah, I will. But the problem is so many people think that they can have like a really tiny channel and go, oh, I'm going to make all my money off of you on YouTube. And then they figure out ad money pays nothing. Then they get into affiliate links, and then they're trying to shove affiliate links down everybody's throat. And then they get something in that's kind of iffy, but they still want to make the affiliate link money off of it. And you're just like, no, you do not understand how to do this.
Yeah, it's just like King Random said, don't sell your soul. And that's exactly right. You got to be honest about what you do. And if a printer sucks, you just got to come down to the point of the printer sucks. And if there's a way of making the printer better, then make the printer better.
But at the same time, don't, yes, you might not be liked in the community because you said something bad about this, or the company might not like you because they were expecting a perfect review. But at the same time, you know, you got to be honest, because if people figure out that eventually figure out that you knowingly misled them into purchasing a product that was not that great, oh boy, the backlash you're going to get from that is way worse than temporarily a bunch of trolls going, I don't like what you said about this product, and then like flaming you out, and you're just like, what? Done. You know,
well, that's one thing I do have to say, that so far I have not had any company come to me and say, we want you to do a good review. They out G-Tech, AMZ3D, Magigoo, they sent the product and said, try it out. They not once said, we want to see what your review is going to be before you do it. We want to know this or that. I'll take whenever I make a video that way, I'll tag them in it, or I'll send them a thing saying, hey, this is what's going up on a certain day. I don't ask them, is it all right? I just say, this is what's going up. But thankfully, none of them have said, we only want you to give a good review. They honestly they send the product and say what you got to say.
And that's definitely how you know if something is good or not, you know.
King Random, and it doesn't squeak. Is the squeaking that bad?
If you listen for it really carefully, you can hear it, but otherwise it's not that loud. An update on the Ultimaker is, it says it's only got about 6 or 7 minutes to go. So do we want to just plug on?
I'll kill my microphone a little bit and bring it a little bit closer this way. Maybe that'll kill it out.
It's going to be fun. Now it's just a waiting game for us and the Ultimaker, but it will be done in a couple of minutes.
Will it?
Yes, I am dead serious.
Is it putting the final layers on it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Now it's saying it's only got about like 6 minutes left, which at this point, that's pretty accurate.
Again, we can hear the squeak sound. I got to find out which bearing that is, but man, it is annoying.
Jimmy's sitting over there like, ugh.
I kid you not, I got a headache. I've got a headache right now from listening to that thing all this whole time.
I hear you.
Every time it slows down, I'm like, okay, it's putting the final layers on it. And then it speeds right back up again. It's like, no. It'll accept. Let me see what the time is on it.
All right.
32 hours and 16 minutes.
Wait, 32 hours?
It's been printing for 32 hours and 16 minutes as of right now.
Oh, my. Wow.
This right here was a 10-hour print. It was either 10 or 12 hours. But this was because it's 0.1 layer height, 100% infill. Same with the body of it. It's 100% infill, 0.1 layer height. The first layer was 0.3. The rest of it's 0.1 layer height, 100% infill.
That is seriously nuts.
And the main, let's see here, print speed is 60 millimeters per second. And the outer wall is 30 millimeters per second.
Again, this is wondering, why did you do 100% infill? I believe it's because he wanted to have that kind of glass-like look, but you don't get that if you do hollow or infill.
Yeah, I wanted it so, because this is going on my coffee table. This straight up, I wanted to buy the one that was at the antique shop, and I still would really like to get that one. But we've got cats. I know what would happen to something glass if I stick it on that coffee table, especially if it's got candy. Those cats would knock it over and break it before I can turn around good.
Somebody donate money to Jimmy using Super Chat so he can...
No, I'm not paying $65 or something. I know it's going to get broke.
I know, I had to do
this
that.
Thing looks so awesome. And I'm going to be proud to put this on my coffee table.
So Turkin has a good point to make, and he's not.
You got to reset your microphone again because you just destroyed it.
Oh, wait, now it's back. Never mind.
Okay, what were you going to say?
So Turkin has a good example of he even admits that he should have done more research, but he made a good point though about doing a due diligence with reviews. He was saying that he bought the Dremel Idea Maker after seeing the review by Joel, but he said that was a mistake, and it's not necessarily Joel's fault, mostly because Joel never mentioned anything about the warranty and the fact that you technically can't do any work on the machine without screwing with the warranty, supposedly. I have not read the warranty on that, so maybe that was... It's the Dremel Idea Maker, which is the relabeled Flash Forge printer. The one that you can buy at like Lowe's or Home Depot.
Really?
Yeah. I personally have not read the warranty, so, but he's pretty much what he was saying is, yes, you should have given that info, and also he didn't use the software that it came with and use Simplify3D on it, which is, that's a fair point. And that I will say is one of the risks that you take when you trust a reviewer outright on something is you're at the mercy of, were they aware of something? Did they, forget to say something? Did they intentionally or unintentionally withhold information? Kind of goes back to what I've always said of do your due diligence and vet, what somebody and multiple sources have said about something, to make sure. So it's, like you said, he's not out to bash anybody or anything, but I think it's a combination of the reviewer may or may not have known all the details, and the consumer didn't, know all the details. So, is it a bummer? Yeah, but at the same time, you live and learn, sadly.
Yeah, one thing I do know about Joel would never do anything to mislead anybody. He's probably one of the most upright, honest guys that I know personally. Yeah, but yeah, that is unfortunate right there.
And I mean, one thing I will say is, for all we know, as the time, because I mean, warranties can change on a product. For all we know, at the time of when somebody, I'm just doing this as an example, when somebody films the review of a product, the warranty or terms of service could change from when that review is done to when somebody views it, especially if a long time has passed, which is why you should always, double check if there's anything more current to go, yeah, this has gotten better, or no, this has gotten worse, so that's definitely another thing to keep in mind is, especially when somebody gets something like I'm always a little bit dubious when people get a pre-order unit, just because there are so many things that are subject to change, like what happened to Angus with the, I forget the name of it, that really bare bones ARM printer thingy that I forget which company made. That was really cool, and they were using like high-wind linear rails on the prototype version, and then they made the production one, and they put some really not so great linear rails and stuff on it, which was a bummer. I think it was the Cetus. It was a bummer because it was almost on the company's part misleading because they were using higher quality components on the prototype one than they did the final one, versus I would have done it the other way around. And like Angus said at the time of the video, this is a pre-production unit, so things are subject to change. But he even admitted that he was disappointed that the company sent out a higher quality demo item than what they ended up shipping, which he felt was a little bit shady on their part, just because it gave the impression that the final product may have been higher quality than it actually was. So there's an example of, very good example of, production changes lead to not necessarily what I would say an inaccurate review, but it's just things changed and there's nothing you can do about it. What's happened is in the past. So, what do you know?
It looks like we're losing Paul. Thank you very much, Paul, for joining. Have a great night. Yeah, I'm really wondering if Dremel actually makes that printer or if they just rebranded some other printer.
Everybody when I even saw the thing initially, I was like, oh, that looks like a rebranded Flash Forge. And that's effectively what it is. It's a relabeled Flash Forge that I hear is kind of on the price.
Yeah. Well, because they put the Dremel name on it. That's the whole reason.
Well, it's kind of like, I give a really good example of the saw that I have in my garage. It's like I forget, back in the day, a couple of years ago, I think I got it for like a little over $100. One of those horizontal vertical band saws from Harbor Freight with a coupon. I got it for a pretty fair price, but if you go to Grizzly or you go to Jet, or I think even for a time there, Sears was selling it, you know, it's all effectively the same saw. It's just they put a different coat of paint on it. And some of them maybe had slightly less janky legs on the thing. But at the end of the day, they're all the same saw. It's just, I figured for what I was going to do, I wasn't going to use the thing on the base anyways. I mean, I ended up welding my own base on camera like 2 years ago. You know, you kind of get what I mean. But the main point was, why was I going to spend more for the exact same item that I could get elsewhere? You know.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Now, you take lawnmowers, okay? Back when I sold lawnmowers up at Sears, I'd always have people come in and they would either love Craftsman or they hated Craftsman. And they would always talk about the Craftsman engines and the Craftsman this and the Craftsman this. Like, I finally had to just stop them and say, I'm sorry, but I got to tell you a little something. It's a Briggs & Stratton engine. It's a Honda engine. It's a Kohler engine. It's a Tecumseh engine. It's not a Craftsman. Craftsman is just the color paint and the sticker they put on it. And more than likely, it was made by two companies. It was either MTD or it was made by, what was the other one? Husqvarna. Because those are the two major manufacturers of every lawnmower out there, except for actual Honda lawnmowers. They're the only ones that between them and was it Toro, I think they make their own. The rest of them were all rebrands. Did it finish?
Yeah, I mean,
no, it's not. It's still printing.
No. Did you see the bed go like this? Did you see me go, oh, yeah. No, I haven't done that yet. So for any latecomers, Oneraz was asking, what was the, just got on here. So did they say that Simplify3D or Cura was better? Pretty much, we called it a draw. There are benefits and drawbacks to both. I mean, I guess to summarize it for him, because he just got on, and anybody else who just jumped on, pretty much my take is Simplify3D still has its place, but I really feel like the $150 price tag for a license, plus the fact that you need an internet connection to get the license to activate, even if you've already preloaded it on your computer, is definitely a drawback. Also, the fact that they don't seem to come out with updates except for like once in a blue moon anymore is a little bit concerning, just because are they still working on stuff, or have they kind of just left it to sit in the corner and they've gone on the bigger and better things and they just keep it running because, you know, they want to be nice to everybody who forked over $150 for it. You know, that said though, if you're somebody who does production printing and you literally need something that you can pull a profile up and pretty much print right away from that, Simplify3D is the way to go. If you're somebody who doesn't want to fork over $150 and doesn't want all, you know, the support features that Cura's lacking still, like being able to position and remove supports, which to me is like the selling point of Simplify3D if you do a lot of prints that need it, then it's worth it. Otherwise, I think Cura is catching up pretty fast, but I'm curious if Simplify3D is going to come out with another update or not now that Cura's come out with theirs. I'm really curious if Simplify3D is going to go, okay, you know, we got to throw in some new features, and they throw in some new stuff, and it kind of just is like this, because it seemed like Cura would come out with something, and Simplify3D would come out with something to kind of one-up Cura, and it was like this friendly competition back and forth, which was actually a really good thing, because it kept both companies working on making better stuff, which, let's face it, that's what we want. We want that kind of competition. So quite honestly, that's where we're at. But we are going to definitely independently try out other slicers like Matter Control, Craftware, things like that. So we just decided to use Simplify3D and Cura just because.
Turkins, that's the question I had. S3D, working on Moai slicing. Does it or does it not? I think you have to use Cura, don't you?
At this point, I'm only using Cura for the Moai for my slicing. But you got to remember, I'm using XYZ Nobel or B9 Creator to make my supports, and I'm using Simplify3D to orient the part and to scale it. So quite honestly, all I'm using Cura for is just a slicer, and that is it, because that's what it's set up for. But everything else is like, you kind of get what I mean.
King Random damn thing looks slower than the squeak generator. Oh, man.
Are you calling my Ultimaker slow?
Yes, it is slow. It should have been done by now.
I'm sorry. The thing's got 37 seconds, 36. I did actually speed it up to 125% on top of running it like 60 some odd.
I saw Jerry sped his up to 300%. Come on, speed that thing up.
I didn't want the print to die halfway through. That's why.
Well, it's not halfway through anymore.
Sorry. It's almost there, Mr. Impatient.
Squeak generator.
And seriously, that name is going to like stick with that machine forever. It's not the TiVo anymore. It's the squeak generator. Even if you fix it. Oh, how's squeak generator going? Oh, it's going good.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to end up having to take an ibuprofen when I get out of here tonight. Man, I kid you not. I got one of those headaches right there from listening to that thing.
Jimmy's being tortured even more because the Ultimaker's taking so long.
Squeak code.
Oh, it's saying 1 second left. Almost there.
Is it?
Yeah. Still saying 1 second. That really accurate timer on it. Oh, still 1 second.
Great job, Ultimaker. Great job.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Sarcastic. Oh, trust me, I haven't been sleeping much lately, so I myself am like running on sleep fumes. But I am genuinely curious what the difference is, and I'm probably just gonna like face plant into my keyboard.
Time for some lube, yes. I gotta figure out which bearing that is and get that thing lubricated.
DK is saying your printer sounds like baby seagulls. Jimmy, this is what you should do.
It's gotten worse in the last 15 minutes. I kid you not.
Here's what you do. You move your mic right next to the machine so everybody can hear the baby seagulls. I think they really want to.
This is bad. It's gotten worse.
Oh gosh, it's a race. Is the TiVo going to break down because of a bad bearing, or is the Ultimaker ever going to finish? Oh, shoot me. This is...
Honestly, how close is it?
It's literally on the last layer.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like 80, 85% there. Actually, Jimmy's not that close to the sea. I'm a lot closer to the sea than he is. I'm about a 25-minute drive. He's probably at least, what, 2 hours?
Yeah, I'm what, 30 minutes away from Monterey?
County?
Pretty close.
It's fun how fast he drives. Oh, it's almost done.
Yeah, that's what you've said for the last 30 minutes. I'll be so glad when this print finishes. Been going on forever. It feels like.
Same here. Same here. Now I feel bad for saying, oh, it'll be like another 20 minutes, and then we're like, oh,
Do it. Pop that sucker. Let's see what it does.
Here, let's make it an ASMR video. Don't you love that crackling sound? Okay, I'll stop.
You and your crack.
I forgot to buy my crack down the street. I am totally screwed. This stream is so getting demonetized. Okay, so here we go.
Oh, is it coming loose, Calvin?
Actually, some of it is sticking. You're welcome. Torture you with the sound effects. So here we go. Where's S3D dude? Where Jimmy kicks me off the stream for staying up too late. This is Simplify3D Octopus. Now it should be noted the fan did not kick on until somewhere around here. On Cura Octopus, fan kicked on a little bit sooner, but he suffered some major head trauma right here because the infill was actually so low inside that it actually sucked in the print. Because it was doing the variable layer height, the variable infill. So I got to change that.
That's user error.
That, yeah. Well, also got to remember, I'm using the stock profile for Cura, so I haven't tweaked it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily judging it on that, but I do have to say the tops of the feet actually look pretty decent.
Now, how do the top of the tentacles look compared to this, the Simplify3D?
This is the S3D one.
Okay.
This is the Cura one. There is a little bit more, at least based off what I've seen, a little bit more stuff left behind on the Cura one. So being that I am running the variable layer height means I don't know what the exact layer height was in that one spot. So that is a little bit, tricky because I could set the layer height, the layer got to be 0.5 millimeters. And it turns out it's running like 0.1 layers in that area. I wouldn't know.
Okay. So judging from those prints right there, $150 difference?
Quite honestly, at this point, no.
Yeah.
But like I said, though, the one thing that still makes Simplify near and dear to my heart, that came off pretty easy. I mean, well, here we go. There's the foot. That was printed solely on support. It's a little bit rougher than the other one, but all things considered, it's going to be a little bit rough. Quite honestly, if I was to judge it just based off of those two prints, there's not $150 support. Now, if you told me that Simplify3D lets you do your own supports where you want it, and you have total control over that, and you can tell it yes or no to certain supports, like really spindly ones that just shouldn't be there, period, and I can remove that, then I go, Simplify3D seems a little bit more interesting, but otherwise, at this point in the game, I don't think it's worth $150, to be perfectly honest, if you're just looking for a slicer. That's just me, though. Like I said, though, if you're doing a lot of production printing where you need custom support, though, it is well worth the money. But otherwise, at this point, I'd still say Cura takes the cake, especially if you're willing to do a little bit of support tuning, which I'm willing to do because I do want to see, comparatively speaking, how it turns out. So
when you get a chance, let's change this number here. When you get a chance, number one, do your support pattern zigzag. And then enable support roof and support floor. Check those boxes, give that a shot and see how it works out.
Okay.
And I think you'll see a huge improvement. Okay. Well, you want to go ahead and call it?
I say we go ahead and call it. I am absolutely passing out right now.
We've been streaming for forever and a day, and this TiVo squeak is killing me at the moment.
Jimmy wants to check the thing out the window, but he doesn't want to because he still loves it deep down inside.
I don't want to throw it out the window. I just want this print to finish because it looks stinking awesome, and I need to take a picture of it and put it on Twitter pretty quick here.
Any way that you can... Oh, wait, you can't really move the webcam to show it, can you?
Yeah, the cord's not long enough on this one.
Oh, it sucks. Well, if it's anything like the other print, which you should probably show so people get an idea, it'll be awesome.
Yeah. Well, man, let's call it. So we're on your channel next week?
We're on my channel talking stuff and things, and keep you guys' eyes out for the bottle opener video, and I'll hopefully have a listing on the Etsy for that before the video drops, so that way if you guys are interested in one, you can go ahead and pick one up. That whole thing, you know, because I make sweet swag.
You remind me of that box from Progressive where he's doing the new vlog where he's like showing the ice cube trays. Yeah, I got my ice cube trays in there making some ice. Stay tuned for that follow-up vid.
Watch it. I might do a video like that next time I'm over at your place just to annoy you, mister. I'm not going to do another vlog. Do another vlog, Jimmy!
Okay, guys, have a good night. Take care, and we will see you next week over on Calvin's channel.
See ya.